So, welcome everyone for our webinar Sending Reports with Action Time from Business Central. We are really proud to have this project launch of introducing the new version of Action Time to all of you. My name is Thomas Werkhoven and I'm together with Matthijs Boom, who spent a lot of time last months to create this new version of Action Time based on all the experiences of our existing customers. What's on the agenda? We will show you the new solution. We will explain to you what Action Time does. We will explain the customer case, why they use Action Time, and we will compare us the existing version versus the new version. And we will do this with a live demo given by Matthijs. And on the end, you can just download our tool and review the documentation. And of course, everyone that attends this webinar can receive a special offer for Action Time. The new solution, what we saw in the first year of the old version of Action Time, we saw more than 30 customers within a year. We were really surprised because there was no customer interface or user interface. It was just a text file to send out reports yourself with a server by email. But it was used a lot and we were surprised about how our clients were using the software. But they were asking us always the same question. Can we have a user interface? And can we do this directly into Business Central? And this is what we have resolved in the past 6 months. We realized these two questions. So now I'm going to give the word to Matthijs, who will show you the way how Action Time is going to work in Business Central with the user interface. Is there any question during the webinar? Please use the Q&A or the chat, and I will ask Matthijs this specific question for you.
Yes, thank you, Thomas, for the introduction. I will take the screen now. We start first a little bit on the PowerPoint because I want to show some things before we go deep dive into Action Time itself. So, what does Action Time do? Action Time basically integrates together with Action Reporting, which is still, of course, Excel-based, together with Action Time, which is now seamlessly integrated into Business Central, and we can manage it, configure it with Action Time to send you all the updated action reports on the right timing, the right place, the right moment with the latest data. You can save this at a specific location. This can either be somewhere on the hard drive of the server or somewhere on a OneDrive, for example. Why Action Time? Some people say. Well, like I said already a little bit before, you can both use it internally and externally. Why Action Time? As you can see on the picture, you can both use it internally as externally, what we've seen at customers. Internally, you could send it basically on a weekly date or a daily basis or a monthly basis to all your coworkers who will get the same reports at the same time with the same data from a specific moment. But what you could also do is you could share your action reports with external people. We've seen at a customer that does a weekly reporting outwards to their suppliers based on the latest data of their system. What we also see it used in is Power BI. A lot of people say, isn't Action a competitor with Power BI? Well, we say definitely no. Actually, we work together very well. Because if maybe you know, maybe you don't know, but Power BI is only possible 8 times a day to be refreshed. With Action and Action Time combined, you could refresh it as many times as you would like. So what we see is that few customers actually have their Power BI fed by Action in combination with Action Time. So you get infinite amount of refreshes and always your latest data in your Power BI reports. Last but least is the convenience where we just make an action report first of all, and then spend a little bit of time on the report, then spend a little bit of time on making it happen in Action Time, and then for the rest of the year or years to come, it will automatically send it to the right people at the right time with the right data without you even having to look at it anymore. A little comparison to maybe some of you know it, maybe some of you don't, but ExsionTime 3.0 as we call it and ExsionTime 4.0. The existing version 3.0 is using the task scheduler of Windows. The task scheduler is, well, it's done its work so far, but sometimes we received some complaints that it doesn't always work and it sometimes crashes. So we decided to no longer use this. We also now have ExsionTime in Business Central, which means it's easily central manageable. Before you had to log in to the server, people couldn't log in at the same time on this server. And now you can all log in at the same time on ExsionTime in Business Central, where you can manage your reports. Also on that note, when you had to log in to a server, like I said. This is a local account you had to use and you couldn't do it at the same time. So we no longer require that. And now, because we use Business Central, it is now user-friendly and for a lot of people, a known user interface. Now, I can talk a lot about it, but let's actually start going into ExsionTime. Before we start, I want to show you the report that we're going to use for the demo in ExsionTime Business Central. I've got a accounts receivable aging analysis. This is a template I've set up beforehand, which is almost completely blank apart from a few parameters or options, as we call it, filled in. I have them filled in here right now, but I could also fill them in with ExsionTime, which I'll show later. I've got this report set up that it will always take the date of today, with a few options that are not necessary for now that we have to look at, a action download, and a report where data will come later if we refresh it. But of course, we're not going to do it manually with Action now. We're going to do this into Business Central. Business Central. I've got a Business Central database right here in front of me. And when you have installed in the app source ExsionTime, you can find it already right now. If you're going to search for ExsionTime in the app source, I've got it, of course, installed here. I could search for ExsionTime. As we see here, we get the ExsionTime report list shown. I click on it, and this is the main screen of ExsionTime. Of course, right now it's going to be very empty, but once you add more reports, you'll see all of your reports will get added here. To fill the reporting, I can do a upload report with this button here. Now, as you're used to in Business Central, I can either drop a file here or click here to find it locally on my PC. In this case, I've got it ready here. I'm going to drag and drop it into Business Central. As you can see, it automatically came into the list of reports. I can see the name of the template here. I can see the size. This is in bytes, by the way, in case you know what it is. I could actually add an actual title and tags of the categories of the report if you know how to do it. And I can see here, this is a report that's been modified last, when it's been created, by who it's been created. This is one of my coworkers, and who's been modified by. What I can see on the main menu here is a few buttons in the top that you're known with. Business Central also has it like this. We can see the defined names of this respective template. If I click on defined names, I can see all the defined names that are in the report of my action report. There are a few filters in here that I'm not gonna use. Of course, I know them from my own reports, but in the future, you have to know that from your own reports as well. Body I'm gonna use later on. Company I'm not gonna use. Date maybe I want to use. Date format I don't need to use. I'll just go quickly through the rest of them. And that's how I make sure that I don't see all the rest of the defined names later on. We'll come back to that. What I can also see here is the Sheets button. Respective template that I have here has a certain amount of sheets. You can see I've got an options sheet, I've I've got an about sheet, a dashboard sheet, an action sheet where my actual download is, and the detailed customer ledger entry where I'll actually show the details of the report itself. More on that later. Where the actual magic happens for ExsionTime in PC is the task list. Let's click on it and we see again an empty screen. We can now start creating tasks for the specific report that we've uploaded. The benefit of this is that I can make multiple tasks for this one template I have. So if I want to send this template to multiple people, but maybe with different parameters or different mailing system, I can make multiple tasks here. Let's start with creating one. Press the new button and it will automatically make me a line. Here I can choose between 4 options to do with the report. Do I want to refresh / mail it daily basis? Do I want to refresh or mail it on a weekly basis? Do I want to refresh or mail it on specific days of the month? Think of always the last day of the month or always the first day of the month. And I also have the option to do specific weeks of the month. In this case, I want to start sending it weekly. And I want to start it at 8 in the morning. It will automatically say it wants to save as accounts receivable aging analysis template English. This is because the file is called like this. But what I want to do is I want to do something with the saving. I want to make sure that every time this report is saved, I want to know which week it was. And I know in my report, I've got a defined name called week number. So if this goes well, it would save it as accounts receivable aging analysis week, and the week is reported by in the report when we refresh it. We also want to give it a path. Where will it be saved? Need to get the path real quick. I want to save it. So now if I do it like this, it will be saved in my C drive in Webinar English as accounts receivable aging analysis week and the respective week number. We also got the button formulas to values here. For the ones that use Action quite often, you may have seen the button at the top called formulas to values of Action. And no, this is not Excel formulas to values. This is only purely Action formulas to values. What this does is if you're going to send this to people who maybe don't have Action PC installed, they wouldn't be able to read or do something with the formulas you've created with Action. So to make sure that they can still read your data, you could click on the formulas to values to make sure they get hard value that they can read and won't have issues with. The last few will come back later once we've actually sent and refreshed the report. Here again, we have both defined name values and sheets. If I click on defined name values, for the ones that maybe have a sharp eye, now see that those are the 4 defined names that I've selected to remain in the report. I've got week number, date, body, and email. The above 3 I'm using later on. For now, I want to give data to email. So what I can do here is I can say to ExsionTime, I want you to fill in the name value within my report before you refresh and mail it with the next data. I want to make sure that the email is filled in with my own email address. This will make sure that ExsionTime, like I said, before it refreshes and before it mails it, it will fill in the email defined name, my email address. I'll show you later why I'm using this. We've also got the tab Sheets here again. If I press on Sheets, I can do some editing here. Again, we see the 5 sheets that are in my report. And right now, all 5 of them are visible. But what I can do here is I can make sure that certain tabs, sheets, are not shown when I refresh and send it. We've got multiple options here. I don't think I have to explain visible to you, but I'll do it just to be sure. If it's on visible, it will mean that once you get the report and you receive it, it will be a sheet that you can still see at the bottom of your action report. Then we've got the option hidden. Hidden is just like you would do yourself on the tab or the sheet of the report in Excel, and you would right click and hide. Why would you do this? Maybe if there's a certain sheet that is not very important for the receiver, but it's still necessary for the report. We've also added a special option called Very Hidden. What this one does is that it removes the sheet, but it doesn't actually remove it from the data that is in your action reporting. Why would this be useful? Maybe you have a download sheet where a lot of parameters or options are in that are very important for your report, for your data that you're showing, but you don't want people to see it or change it. Then you put it on very hidden. Of course, you've also got the last option to just completely delete a certain sheet. What this does is you completely remove the sheet out of the report. This could be useful when you have a sheet that you don't want to show to the people you send it to, but don't forget if there's an action formula there or if there's something that other data depends on, this will mess your data up. So be aware of this. For now, for the demo, I'll show you the about and putting it on hidden. Remember this when we will later on see the reports. I want to start scheduling this report. If I click on schedule, I've got a few more details that I couldn't select here on the main screen. Here again, I have the 4 options that we could select: the daily, the weekly, the days of the month, and the weeks of the month. In this case, I want it weekly. And I want to make it start next month, because that's what's been requested of me. The start time is 8, and you can make it stop after a few minutes, because maybe you have a very big report and you don't want it to be still busy when it's 8:30 because everyone starts working. You could put a 30 here, so it will stop after 30 minutes. The standard timing is 10 minutes. So if I leave this empty on 0, it will stop after 10 minutes of refreshing. When we click next, we can select whether we want to recur it every week, yes or no. If I would put this on 2, it would only send it every other week and not every week. But in this case, I want to send it every week. If we click on next, we can also decide on which days of the weeks we want to refresh and send it. In this case, I started it on Monday. I want to keep doing it on a Monday. So I deselect all the other days and I leave Monday on. I could also give it an end date if I wanted it, because maybe I only want this report to be sent till the year 2025, because maybe 2026 we're making a new report for it. Could be the case. You could also give it an end time, and this is important if you want to repeat the task a certain amount of times. So I could start a report sending it on 8 o'clock in the morning, and I could make it stop at 9 o'clock and repeat it every 5 minutes. This would make sure I would send it multiple times if we're maybe busy with the end closing. So we get updated and the latest data that we require. I could put it here on enabled, but I'm not done with the report yet. So for now, I'm just clicking on finish. I've now scheduled it, but we can also email it. Right now, if I would put enable it, it would only save it and only refresh it. Emailing is optional, but very many times used. If I click on email, we now see the known email screen from BC itself, like you sending maybe an invoice upwards. It's the same look. But one thing we've added from ExsionTime is that we once again can use the defined names that we have in our action report. So here, if you remembered, before we filled in the email, we filled in my email address. I want to make use of that again. Between the standing brackets, I say email. So now, if it works well, it will send it to my email. The subject, I want to use the same type of thought. I want to say accounts receivables, week number. So once again, in the subject of the email, we will see this later, I will use the week number that will produce from the refreshing of the data. So this week it will be week 44, I think, and next week it will be week 45. For the body, I have also added a named value in my action report called body. This will create the text that I want to enter in this report when I mail it. Now I'm done. I can now press on the enable button here, and you will automatically see here in the next runtime what the first moment will be that the report will be refreshed and sent. Of course, I've just set it up, so I first want to see does it actually work, and I can test it with the run now button. What it's going to do now is on the background, it's going to pick up the report, it's going to refresh it, and it's going to send it to the parameters I've given it.
Matthijs, I've got one question from Peter. He says, we are working in a SaaS environment. Is it possible to save the file in SharePoint?
And by SharePoint, he means OneDrive, I think. And OneDrive is possible. As long as the where you're running ExsionTime has access to that SharePoint as well.
Can continue, Matthijs. It's
yeah, no,
one
but
question.
I'm waiting for it to arrive. Ah, there it is. I was getting worried for a second it wasn't working. Thank you. The email has just arrived, and as you can already see in the subject, it's now called Accounts Receivables Week 44. And I placed body inside the body, and now it has the text that it has inside the report. Let's also check the report itself. You can already see it has some data in it. Let's actually open it in Excel itself instead of the preview. There we can see it's now been filled where it previously was empty. Of course, this is demo data, so don't look at the actual data inside. But we can see now it's been refreshed, and I can also see this in the time frame that is showing on the action download, as you can see here. The About sheet has also been hidden as we requested. And this is what ExsionTime does for you in a nutshell. Are there so far any questions, Thomas? Any other questions?
No other questions.
The last I want to show is that it also, the last runtime shows. And now once I need to refresh it. And now you can see again, the next runtime will be 3.11 and the last was 28.10.2025. And I can also see the message it did last time. If it would be an error and something went wrong, it would have checked the box here, last error, and it would have the message here, what the error was, what went wrong. Last but not least, once you download ExsionTime, you automatically get given two permission sets. No, permission set, yes. We add two permission sets. We've got the ExsionTime admin and the ExsionTime view. I have the ExsionTime admin role. What means is I can actually edit and see all the tasks that are there and actually change them when they're being done and how they're being done. Once you have the ExsionTime view permission set, you can only see which reports are in ExsionTime. You can see when the tasks planned, but you can't actually change them. They get automatically delivered once you've downloaded ExsionTime. For now, if there are no questions, that was the demo of ExsionTime. We've got a little QR code here where you can see the stuff that's on the left. You can find our app source. You can get a free trial. So right now, if you are in this webinar, you can get a free trial for normally 30 days. But right now, with this webinar, you can get 60 days. So basically till the end of the year. You can either get a meeting with Thomas or with me to get further information. You will also find the brochure of ExsionTime, and you will also find a link to our YouTube channel with ExsionTime tutorials that we actually already have on. You can scan this QR code, but you can also find it later in the email, I think, with the data that you need. Once you come in contact with one of us, you will get an actual personal session, which will probably will be with me, where we go together and actually set up one report for you completely with ExsionTime in BC. So you'll get a hands-on training and you'll know what the best practice is and the best way to approach ExsionTime is in BC. We'll help you through the first report, and then on you'll be able to do it yourself, same way.
Okay.
That is my
Then I
end of the
think
demo. So I
then
want to
I
ask
think
you,
it's good to mention that all the existing clients that are already working with the old version of ExsionTime, they will just pay the same amount. So we do not charge any additional amount. You can just go convert freely from the old version to the new version. And everyone that attended this webinar will get the low price of 99 euros per month for this specific type of software. I'm saying euros, but also for the specific countries where it's applicable, it's US dollar. Please feel free to contact Matthijs or me after this webinar with any questions. We will give a live demo. We will do that implementation for you, and you can schedule all your action reports easily in the coming period. And I would like to say thank you to all. Thank you, Matthijs, for this live demo, and speak to each other.
thank you everyone.